You may have answered some of this in your video. That's okay before, but how do you relate to these women in your art, and what is it about them that tell you about yourself?
It's interesting. I try to do a lot of research, reading about people of women, single women, women with children, and women that were triracial, and especially the relatives that I had that were so borderline looking, you know, and how did they survive, like, in a time where miscegenation was against the law, and they were considered free issue. So those are very mysterious settings to me. And so although I try to send myself back in time and read and listen to my grandmother a lot, talk about things that she knows, and she actually is very knowledgeable because I guess she just sat around her mother and they passed down this information. But I think that I try to identify and put myself into these little like scenes where I am that person, or that must have happened, or maybe it wasn't this, but it was that. You know, that scene. So Marie, I talk about Marie because the painting is called Marie, Daughter of the Revolution. And I know that a lot of my family, the Hatchers, were offsprings of General Thomas Brown and his great-grandson, Captain Will Henry Brown. So I try to play around with that and try to like say, okay, well, you know, she was free issued and maybe she didn't feel the pressures of another female slave. You know, they lived on to that plantation well into the 30s, you know, so it's very interesting the amount of people that come from that area, and it's just a lot of research.
Each painting in your exhibit has a spirit or a feeling that a person in the painting is present. How are you able to capture the emotion of your art subjects?
When I'm painting, because painting for me takes a long time, a series of different faces come about until I get that right one. And I feel like recently that whole metamorphosis of of trying to, you know, it seems technique is taking over, trying to get that face. I'll come in another day and I'll say, that's not it, that's not it. But then I always believe that it's coming through. And one of the paintings called, it's called Bonbons and Mint for Old Granddad. I used an image of Captain Will Henry Brown and put myself on the side. And there's another figure of a female in the painting that came out in the paint. She was not a model, she was not a plan. She came out in the paint. So I allowed her to come out in the paint. So I believe that my, right now I'm in the studio and I actually had a meeting because of noise, because I am that zoomed into the painting, waiting for it to talk to me back and tell me like, okay, here it is here, make a stroke there, and there I am, you know? So I think that that's how I do it. I am definitely aware that I am playing a game with dialogue of the past and hoping that that soul comes in and helps me out.
You do delve into history, right? Have you ever wanted to live in a time in which your painting reflected? Why or why not?
That is a very intense question because I have to be totally honest with you. I don't think I would pass the paper bag test, and I don't think that I would be seen like my grandmothers were in that particular instance. So I withdraw to my mother's family and say, oh no, 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 I don't want to be there, but I do want to. I want to be a fly on the wall. I want to be invisible. I want to be able to be there and take part of some of the things, but not all of the things. So a part of me, you know, I mean, and the antebellum is where I tend to have a lot of attention geared towards in the South because of my curiosity of racial blood mixing in the antebellum South and the anti-miscegenation laws that were really never documented in any state, except for I think Alabama may have taken some things on, but they were just in the minds of people. Not as I am, I don't want to be there.
I know that some people here, they are familiar with your work. For those who are not familiar with your work, do you mind giving us some background on yourself, how you've come to this point, how you ended up here at the Atelier at UNCG? Just give them a little history.
Okay. I think I started to really delve in my work of race when I came back after living in Italy for 7 years, where I was constantly mistaken as Brazilian, and I was wanting my identity as an American, you know, black, you know. And I would say to them, I'm American. They go, well, so are we, you know, and you should check out Brazil because you are from there, you know. And I would go, yeah, they were like, I would be like, wow, you know, they're like, well, we're from South America, you're from North America. And a woman told me, she said to me, that's a zupa da casa, meaning the same soup of the house. And that we were the same mixtures, and that this whole, you're from the United States and we're from Brazil, really meant nothing, you know. We were the same descendants of slaves, the same triracial mixtures. They had they have their own Native American, they're Portuguese or white, and they're African. So I really learned a lot living in Italy for 7 years, but it craved my own history and the fact that I had these people that were still in my life, that were still in my world, and I could confer to them and ask them about things that were really important, like, well, what, you know, what are we? You know, what is this? What is, you know, like, why do you look so different than me? Or, you know, and that was always a part of our family history anyway. So I knew a lot of things, but I came back and I decided to finish my undergrad over at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, and there I did 4 years scholarship, and they totally made sure I got through that. And I decided, okay, I want to do my grad, and I want to get back to North Carolina to be closer to my family and to continue this thesis. And I felt like if I could just be closer to North Carolina and be able to get down there to that Blade plantation and go visit my grandmom and do all these things, I could start, you know, really driving on some really good work. And so that's where I was. So now I'm doing my master's and finishing up my first year at UNCG. And I did get, I felt UNCG did acknowledge me. They offered me a full ride, but they also offered me, they gave me the Atelier Holderness Fellowship. So I felt like that was really for outstanding North Carolinians and for my work, and I thought that was really impressive, and it was sort of like a gift, like a understanding through me and what I was trying to do. So, yeah. And I'm here. I came in, I sent an email to Shuri. I said, can we do something together? She goes, we could do it right away. I said, okay, great.
Have you ever collaborated with any other artists? If so, who, and who would you like to work with?
I've never, with my work, it doesn't really involve collaboration because it's such serious soul searching, and I am that kind of artist that is isolated. It's almost a curse. You know, I'll be in the studio and I won't have music playing. The talking I prefer would be white noise. Television, redundant over and over again. If there is a song that I wanted to hear, it would have something to do with the painting. Like when I was finishing up Marie, and I was like, well, who are you, and what are you, and who are you? Sapphire, what's a sapphire? And then my ideas about going to the past because they explain so much of the present. And I looked at, you know, and I don't listen to Little Kim often. I had a couple of her CDs because, you know, it was just, you know, it's part of everything. Research, just gotta have it. You gotta understand her. What is she talking about? And although I've probably passed judgment on her as a very, you know, vulgar, and, you know, I felt that she had direct relation to the plantation. And I felt that she was an offspring of sapphires. And her vulgarness in her body and using her body as a tool to gain or to eat or to survive was very much coming right from the plantation, where a lot of the black females were part of that, and mixed race females were very much part of it, because in South Carolina, they would take, you know, mixed race girls from North Carolina and other places and they were called fancy girls, and they were put into brothels. And so that whole idea of sex and identity, sexual identity, I felt like I needed to listen to her, and hence I was able to pull out the soul of Marie. And Marie is actually a name of my mother's grandmother, who died at an early age of 25, but I just felt like Marie. Something's talking. I needed the lyrics of Little Kim. I needed her hardness. I needed her vulgarness. And to be able to complete, to actually go back in time, you know, because of her energy. It was just like, whoo, you know. So I felt like she was a sapphire, and I needed a sapphire to tell me what was going on.
I have a question.
Oh,
Is
yes.
she actually related to you, or just
Who? Little Kim?
Kim, yes.
No, she's not.
Just metaphorically.
No, metaphorically,
Yes,
metaphorically, she was an example of the past and the present.
I understand.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
When you were in Italy, did you bring anything from Italy to your paintings here, or is that separate?
I think I did. I think that the way I paint is tribute to old European masters. I mean, it's a little rougher, but the figurative context. And the painters that I look to are Italian and European. It's interesting, when I was in Italy and I was painting, the Italians just thought it was just the most comical thing. That I was this, you know, young black girl, and they thought I was, you know, pretty, and remember, they thought I was Brazilian, and I was, you know, supposed to be dancing on tables, and here I was painting. And they just thought that was amazing. They just thought that was hilarious. So they bought the paintings immediately, and a lot of it had to do with sexism, and other parts of it had to do with color, because they had not come into contact with a lot of black Americans, and then one who was painting. You know, like, this is their culture, paint, you know, and here I'm coming from Philadelphia, and I'm, you know, painting all these paintings and oil paints, and they knew that. That was a language they understood. Mm-hmm. So I think my personality is strong from Italy, where I am determined to do something. 7 years allowed me to learn determination through all those Italians, you know, and focus. And the seriousness of my paintings, the seriousness of the oil paint, and the focus of that. Yeah, it's helped me steadfast. And language, I speak it fluently. So.
As I'm listening to you and I've seen your work, all I can think of is you're like the black Cindy Sherman. And
Cindy Sherman.
Are you ever going to get into costume and, you know, and be sapphire, be a fancy girl, be all this stuff? And I can't see you painting all that stuff.
I do have videos of me in costume, and I do, that's so funny, I do have videos of me in costume, and it's funny because I never related myself to Cindy Sherman, who's an artist. I have been, I did get in costume, and I do a little dance, and I got these Annie Bell costumes that I find from Georgia. From wherever I can find them. I will find them, I'll hunt them down, and I'll buy them, you know, because I just have to have that.
How do you see men fitting in, or how do you see a man viewing your work? How do you see that?
Interesting. You know, somebody asked me a question, and I showed them some pictures of my elders, and they said, well, where are the men? And I said, oh, you know. And and it wasn't that I didn't have pictures of the men. It was that innately I was raised. My father's in North Carolina, and my mom, they're divorced, and I was raised with all these women. And my focus has always been like, okay, well, what are the women? You know, because it's relation. But I don't want to create woman's art, but I think it's sort of innate for me because I'm a woman. There is a difference in the in paintings from a male perspective and a woman's perspective. Even in the strokes, I believe in the touch of creating the body. And it's interesting, I mean, I have done paintings of men, but I'm not sure whether how I perpetrate them. You know, it would be a really good exercise to do more men in my paintings. You know, I don't have any problems with that. I would love to explore it. I just probably been a little focused on just one thing here.
Which is more important in your art, technique or content?
Both. Yeah, I don't see one without the other. I struggle with it in the, I am the only figurative artist on the grad department right now, and I struggle with it when it comes to technique. I used to do a lot of underpaintings like the old masters, you know, Caravaggio, and I do these underpaintings with these olive green paint and white titanium and just do gradations of these. Some people call it grisaille, it's French. I call it verdaccio, it's Italian. And that was a very, what's happening is that everything was like formulated, you know, like one way, you know. And Marie is actually done from an underpainting underneath. There's another painting underneath. In my grad school experience so far, I have not used any underpainting. I've gone alla prima, right onto the canvas in color. And I feel like that loosens me up some. So technique and loosening up, yes, that. But as far as playing, I mean, like, technique is important to me. Technique is important to me, and content is very important to me. Because I'm a narrative, I am a portrait painter. But I seek narration in the paintings. But innately, I'm a born portrait painter. That's what I do, you know, and I play around with that in narratives, and now I'm playing around with it in three-dimensional construction on the paintings. I'm doing all kinds of different things. So, but I know that about me, is that I'm a portrait painter, and I still will do portraits of, you know, like a lot of people have come to me and asked me, oh, well, could you do a portrait of my parent who's passed or something like that, and I'll take it as a great honor to sort of try to dig that soul up and, you know, put that on that painting for that person so they can feel like that is him, you know. So
I'm a sculptor, so I see you so sculpting at a third dimension coming off your paintings, and I remember the person, I just shot you an email, Elizabeth Murray.
Oh, okay.
Is the one that does undulating canvases.
Oh, okay.
But I would love to see you come off the wall.
You want to see me cut? And this is not the first person who wants to see me come off the wall. And I'm a very good sculptor. Because the painting, I believe, still wants me. I still want it. But I am building around the painting. I am building like almost in settings where you can open a door to a painting now, you know? So I understand the three-dimension that is called, that wants to build a house.
And collaging, I can see you collaging on your paintings. I can just see, I mean, my brain is going like, we'll talk like 100 miles an hour.
It's okay.
Where you can go.
It's okay. It's
But
great.
how'd you learn Italian? I was probably impressed.
Being in Italy for 7 years, I was forced to learn Italian.
Wow, that's impressive.
And the fact that, I mean, they call me the Chocolatina. So you learn it fast. You know, because once somebody has called you Chocolatina, you need to know very fast how to protect yourself or know how to get out of a situation.
Where'd you live?
I lived in Florence for 3 years and Milan for 4 years. And you know, it's a different world, so you want to be very clear that I am here for dinner, or I'm not here for dinner, or I don't want this, I want that, and you know, to have a successful life.
How do you know when to walk away? How do you know when your art is complete?
You don't. I mean, there's a point of being tired, you know, like, oh, I can't do any more to this painting. And it's not that I will overdo it. I can't do any more to this painting. The energy shuts off, something shuts off, and I feel like, okay, I achieved what I needed to achieve on that. I mean, wherever I was, whatever I worked out, I work counterclockwise, so it goes like this. And wherever it is, you know, I am, all of a sudden, it's done. I made some kind of peace with it, it's done, you know, so.
Do you ever do series?
I do series of work, yeah. Themes of work, yeah. And the series is starting more with the three-dimensional. And for some reason, I'm building houses. I'm building screen doors. I'm building tables and building windows. I'm building doors. I'm building porches. So there's something that's constantly talking. I built walls. You saw my wall. I had a wall in the video. I'm building walls. There's something about that. And I was saying to somebody yesterday, I said, this wall is so big, it's limiting me. Because the house makes you stable. I said, I'm not sure. I'm so scared. I'm not sure I want to be stable. Why am I playing around with these houses? And they're made out of concrete, and they're made out of wood, and they're begging for stability. And I'm like, how do I move you to the next place? And I don't know what else. So my paintings are my life. My work is my life. So it really seeps in and navigates, you know. You know, and I've been thinking of buying a house, so I was saying, you know, I'm not sure I'm ready. Why am I making these heavy things, you know?
Get into rebar. If you go into the foundry, weld your rebar, and then cover it with a skin of cement, you'll be fine.
Oh,
Much lighter.
a skin of cement. Yeah, right on. You have to come to my studio as soon as possible. Because that wall is heavy. It's made out of concrete and paper mache and chicken wire, barbed wire. Not barbed wire, chicken wire, wood. I mean, it's made up to a wall, you know. So.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
So, what's next for you? What are you?
Well, I am going to three-dimensional with my art, with my paintings, and I'm still creating this house, whether she's from old times or new times. I have an infatuation with old plantation houses. I used to, when I had time, just go scout through them on the internet and see, like, they have a whole website for them for sale, and I would just see them, you know, and I would see what people would do to them, make them into bed and breakfast, all kinds of different things like that. And I just, it would be my dream. It's sort of a scary dream, you know, because it's like such a place of energy and history, but it's interesting. You know, I mean, I like to see pictures of the abandoned ones, the walls torn off, the floorboards are heavy and thick, the big doors short and wide. It's just so much history there. And I feel like I'm looking for validation and a reckoning. I believe that, like, I talk to the owners of the Oakland that are distant relatives, and they always tell me, you know, you can come, and when I come, you know, the lady who takes care of the house, Mrs. Andrews, she just lets me in, and I can take my friends and family throughout the house, which is totally furniture, you know, it's got furniture from the antebellum all over, harpsichords, family pictures, everything, and it's also a hunting club, so they're not shy for hunters to have come in, and you see the deer heads all over the place. I mean, it's sort of sad, but everything's there. The smokehouse, the post office, everything's there. The only thing that and I rang the dinner bell, as you saw, and I did all that stuff. My grandmother was in a car instructing me to do all these things. And she sort of sits out the car with the door open. And she says, now, go find the cellar door. Go find a cellar door that leads underneath the ground into the basement where they brought the slaves from the Cape Fear under there. So I go to Mary Andrews, I go, where's the basement? She goes, you just leave that alone. So we were checking things around, and she was looking out the window and telling me, you know, don't find the cellar door, don't find it, you know. So there's so much mystery about those places and so much history, but when I go there, I feel totally free. So I have other projects that still call me back to that time. Sometimes I like to move on, you know, to the 40s, the 50s, or even today, you know. But I constantly play around back and forth. So I don't know whether that theme will change, but I feel like my work ethics are changing. Like, you know, the three-dimensional challenging me to talk, let me come out further than the two-dimensional. So it's quite interesting. Did I answer that right?
Yes, I believe so. And you had answered it a little bit with other things too. I just didn't know if there was something else. I just wanted to ask it. But you talk about the Plantation House a lot. I'm wondering if you or would you, you know, ever own a plantation home, and what would you do with it? Would you, you know, keep it as is? How would you refurbish it? What would you do to it? Because there is going to be a certain energy in there.
Oh,
like, what would you do with that space? What would you do with it?
Well, you know, there is a lot of energy, but I just know what I would do. I move in and set up shop, you know. I mean, I got to set up shop right away, you know. I mean, every room has to be filled with something. And my animals. I have a lot of animals. So, and I have 2 dogs and 3 cats, but I actually have 3 dogs. One dog is away in Philadelphia. He'll be here soon. She'll be here soon. I actually own 3 acres in Bladen County. In Bolton, Columbus County, and it's in the, you know, it's in the green swamp. It's sort of shared, cleared land. And I was thinking of doing a residency there in the future. You know, looking for grants to be able to do a residency there because I felt like the area is so invoking, you know. But I would like to own a plantation house. My boyfriend told me that he would not like to move into that place because he's scared, you know. But I told him I would love to own it. I would love to own it. I think that is a very powerful move, to own the thing. Just own all the land, and the slave houses, and just own it. And whether I would change it, I don't know about whether I would change it. I think it would cost a fortune to change things, but I don't know. I would probably like make it available for filming, you know, things like that. But I don't think I would want to, you know, mess with it too much. It is what it is, and I feel that they, like, you know, the whole bed and breakfast thing, they're still keeping it, but I don't think I would do the bed and breakfast, you know. So.
Did you find any family members that were resistant, that didn't want to talk about it?
I did. There was my grandmother's cousin in Virginia, because a lot of the family moved to Portsmouth, Virginia for work. And some of them came back to North Carolina, but then some of them stayed in Virginia. And there was a cousin, and she's a Jehovah's Witness. And that's also there's like a trace of that throughout the family. The first one was Uncle John Hatcher, and he moved to Virginia, and I am not a witness, but they were, and she was, and she did not want to talk about the past, but she was the one who, because it had something to do with her religion as well, pictures. She didn't feel as though pictures were important from the past. I wanted pictures. I knew she had them. She didn't want to give them to me, and she used the religion as a way not to. But she also talked about the past is the past. Maybe Johnny Mace doesn't want to be found. I remember the day that he sat down with my father and told us that he was going to be white, and we all looked the same, and we told him that was unfair. And that was a resistance. And I found out later through tracking him down that he had died in a car accident, and so that was his death certificate.